Welcome to the Late to Grid podcast. This is your host, Bill Snow, and I'm back in the Atomic Autosports studio to bring you another story of a motorsports journey. And this time, I'm really excited to welcome Adrian Willoughby into the studio to tell us more about his business, his racing background, but more importantly, his motorsports journey. So Adrian, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bill. I'm super excited to be here. As I told you before the show, this is my first show. So this is awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. So all week, as I've been thinking about today and recording this with you, there's two words I can't get out of my head. Yo, Adrian.
Oh my God, my entire life, that's all I ever heard. Yeah. The first time I ever remember hearing it was Boy Scout summer camp. Like, oh God, I was probably like 12, 13 years old. And we had a old German as our merit badge counselor for shotgun merit badge. And he said that to me for the first time. I'm like, what does that mean? You know, what are you talking about?
Because you hadn't seen the movie yet.
I still haven't seen the movie.
No way.
I still haven't seen the movie. But everywhere I go, it's, yo, Adrian. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. So before we get into the main part of the podcast, you and I are just back from a Champ Car race at Pittsburgh International Race Complex. You were a busy guy. You raced 5 hours on Saturday. Every time I turned around, you were zipping up and down either the paddock or the pit lane. How tall are you?
6'2".
You're 6'2". You're on this mini quad going 100 miles an hour. Where do you come up with all this energy to be everywhere and put 5 hours in on Saturday?
I don't know, man. I've always been like super energetic. Like going back to when I was a kid, I've just always been go. I mean, and I'm the same way with that, like with my business, like I just go. I don't stop. It is a little bit of a sickness in a way, but also like it helps me in a lot of different other things. So that's pretty cool. And that quad, by the way, is amazing.
Is it?
I literally just got it and the start switch doesn't work. So I have to hotwire it every time I need to get on and zip around.
Typical Grassroots racer pit vehicle.
Literally, I pop the seat and I keep a wire stuck in between the battery and the cover of the chassis, and I just pull it out and I touch it to the battery, touch it to the starter, and fire up, and zip it around.
That's great. Well, while we have a minute, let's talk about the race weekend, because you were racing with Money Shift Racing, friends of ours. Yep. In the same B class that we run in with Radar Racing. You had a pretty stellar weekend.
Yeah. So the Money Shift guys, those people are like my family. I've really only known them for probably about 3 years now. I met Kevin through a mutual friend who has actually been a little bit of a customer and actually came and helped me out at the shop every once in a while. And he says, listen, I think you two would be great friends. You need to meet. And so we did. And then, it just kind of led to where we are now. This weekend was fantastic. We had our best result that we've ever had. And not even just like since I've joined the team, since like that Civic was built. 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now. I think they built that between 2019 and 2020. So we finished third overall. Like you mentioned, I drove 5 hours on Saturday. It was exhausting. I forgot my cool shirt at home. I'm usually pretty well prepared, and I was not. So that sucked. But we went out and we did everything that we had to do. And this year we've been fighting a lot of mechanicals. Mm-hmm. So like we went to Road Atlanta and our car didn't have VTEC. So we were going down the back straight at Road Atlanta at like 109 miles an hour, whereas everybody else is, zooming by at 125, 130. We went to Gingerman and we just destroyed brake pads. We couldn't keep them in the car. Then we went to Nelson. We chewed through 3 sets of axles. Practice day was a set of axles. Saturday's race was a set of axles. Sunday's race was a set of axles. And then we went to Mid-Ohio. We lost another set of axles, an alternator as well. And we just finally we put it together this past Saturday.
Sure did. And the team Friday night or Thursday night was in a panic.
Yeah.
right? Because there were some data logger issues or dash issues.
Yeah. So we run a AEM CD7 dash, I think it is. And AEM, they have a vehicle dynamics module, and it connects to the dash, and it provides GPS coordinates and track mapping data and things like that. It was also on the same circuit as our fuel gauge as well, right? So something had happened in the computer. I'm not a computer guy, so I don't know what was going on. Tony had that figured out. He's got that stuff figured out. But so we didn't have a fuel gauge. We didn't have a speedometer. We didn't have lap timing. And like the lap timing, we don't need that. Like, I mean, that's an amenity, right?
Right.
But that speedometer, when we have purple 35s or we have 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in the pit lane, like we need to know how fast we're going so that way we don't get a penalty.
Right.
And we were panicked too. I don't think we got the car loaded up till about 9:30, 10 o'clock Thursday night to be out there. And I know there are some people that, they load up a lot later than that, unfortunately, but that was probably the latest that we've loaded up in a long time.
Yeah. It was awesome to see, taking not only the green flag, but the checker flag both days after kind of a rough season. So Road Atlanta. So instead of VTEC yo, it was VTEC no.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. And I mean, it was, you milked that car for everything it had. It was like driving a Miata, really.
Or a Neon.
Or yeah, there you go. Or a Neon. And if anybody's been on the track with that Money Shift Civic in the last, 3-4 races, that thing's not slow.
Oh man.
And at Road Atlanta, we were slow. It sucked, man. It really did. But we managed through it, and we finished second in class that weekend. We would have been first in class, but we had a wheel bearing failure. And we actually thought it was brake issues, because we kept going into a braking zone and we had no brake pedal, and you'd have to pump it. Well, we were getting pad knockback, but we were on fixed calipers. There's no reason we get pad knockback, but we had a wheel bearing fail. So you'd turn the wheel and it would flex the wheel bearing and it would push the pistons in the caliper. And then you hit the next brake zone and you got to push them back out again.
So explain pad knockback to the listener.
So pad knockback is what occurs on I guess you could say, a traditional style caliper that's got sliding pins. And as you turn the car and put the side load into the suspension, it actually causes the rotor to push back on those slide pins and send that piston of the caliper actually kind of back into it. So now you don't have almost the immediate grab of your brake pad when you hit that brake pedal. So sometimes, like, you'll see people, they'll go down a straightaway and you'll see them tap their brakes way before the brake zone. And then that's them checking to make sure that their brakes are there, because a lot of cars aren't running fixed calipers. Right.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So any more endurance racing for you this year?
Possibly. There's a team, and this was actually the first team that I ever worked with in Champ Car. They might be running the Sebring New Year's Eve race. And if they are, I might go down there with our good friend Les. And Les.
Les has been a guest before, Les Epps.
Yep. Lester, shout out to him. He's fucking awesome. I love that guy. He really is. When I went down to Daytona to work with this team, he really helped me out and showed me the ropes, because this was my first time ever at an endurance race or at a Champ Car race. He gave me a lot of good pointers, and we've been friends ever since. We chat all the time. Every time we're at the track, we hang out. So, we might go race a mini down there with John Allen. John Allen Special.
Oh, okay.
So they run a N14 R56 Mini.
Nice.
So we'll see if they're running. We might go run with them.
That'd be fun.
But who knows?
For sure.
Yeah.
So you got started in all this because your dad was a dirt track racer.
Yeah.
And that's how you got the bug.
Yeah. So growing up, my dad raced before I was born. He raced 6-cylinder dirt modifieds. And when I was born, he had to hang it up. you know, but we were still going to the track all the time. So we were at Sharon Speedway, Mercer Speedway, Lernerville Speedway. Anytime we were with him and it was a weekend, that's what we were doing. I mean, not every time, but a large majority of the time. And I fell in love with it. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, Dad, I want to go racing. And Sharon,
how old were you when you said that?
Oh God, I was like 4 or 5, you know? I mean, there was a local dirt go-kart track, and I was trying to convince him when I was like 8 or 9, like, hey, can we put a cart together and just go run dirt carts, you know? But I remember telling him, like, let's go racing. And Sharon Speedway is home of the Blaney family, if you're familiar. And my dad is the same age as Dale and Dave, so he grew up watching them, you know, climb the ranks and everything. And first thing he said to me, he's like, if you want to go racing, you're going to have to wait till you're 18. And I was like, but why? He's like, well, if Dale and Dave Blaney had to wait until they were 18 to get in a car, you have to wait until you're 18 to get in a car.
If it's good enough for the Blaneys, it's good enough for the Willoughbys.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't go racing, but we went and saw all the races. Yeah. You know, we always, our favorite race we always did was Don Martin Memorial Silver Cup for the World of Outlaws show at Lernerville, watching the sprint cars. Okay. That's my favorite. If I could drive a sprint car, so if anybody out there, you got a sprint car and, you know, you might want to give me a test, I would love that. But that's on my bucket list, is to drive a sprint car one day.
Oh, that'd be a blast. On dirt.
On dirt.
On dirt. All right.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see you in the Chili Bowl or something.
Hey.
That'd be sweet. So what was the very first time you had something on track?
Very first time I had something on track would have been 2019. And that would have been the first Mini Cooper that I ever owned. Everybody knows me for owning Mini Coopers. So, the first one I ever owned was the first car I ever took on track. When I bought that car, I did a lot of very dumb things on the road. I'm sure as a lot of us young teenage boys do.
Wait, the road is not the racetrack?
No.
Oh, all right.
So I was I did a lot of things that, you know, I can laugh about now, but I'm not necessarily proud of. And I put myself in situations and I said, you know what, I can't keep doing this. And that's when I signed up for my first track day out at Pit Race. Pit Race, they have their own driver's school, actually. You know, like there's organizations that hold driving schools and stuff like that, but Pit Race actually has like their own program that they put on. And so I went out and I did that for 2 days in 2019.
And what was your immediate reaction that first lap?
So the first 3 laps was, I know how to drive a car. I know what I'm doing. And I loved it. And I was right about one of those things, the fact that I loved it. Yeah. I was not right about the fact that I knew how to drive the car, because the guy sitting in my passenger seat after probably about the 3rd or 4th lap, he got over the communications and he said, listen, if you don't start listening to me, we will park the car for the day. Ooh. And I had just spent like $400. I'm like, I'm not parking the car for the day.
Please repeat yourself, sir. I will listen.
So, so I listened to him, and that is how I got on track. So that was a fun time. And I remember that after the first day, like my buddy had told me, you need to get a rear sway bar on that Mini. You need a rear sway bar. I'm like, I looked them up online. They were, I want to say like $500. And I'm like, man, $500 for, you know, a little steel tube. And at the time I was like, I'm not paying that.
I'll pay another $400 and get on track for a couple of days.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I did that first track day. And as soon as I got home, the first thing I did is I ordered a rear sway bar.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, click, we need that, you know. But yeah, so, and then the sickness started.
So before you hooked up with Frank Schwarz, which we'll talk about in a minute, did you do more track days? Did you do more HPDE things? What was your next couple of events after that?
Yeah, so like I said, I did 2 days in 2019, and then obviously 2020 hit, and we know how that year went for everybody. I did manage to get a track day out at Nelson Ledges in November of 2020.
Perfect weather to be at Nelson.
Yeah. It was like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing. And actually, so my second track day ever, so that second day I did at pit race, I had upgraded my brake pads and I had upgraded my brake fluid and I had put on that rear sway bar. And I went out and every session I boiled the brakes.
No kidding.
And I just bought .4. I didn't realize, oh, hey, maybe I should buy Motul,
Yeah.
I didn't ask the right questions to the right people. And at that time I didn't have those people, which is okay.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
How did you find the right people?
Just keep going to the track.
All right.
It's really how you do it. I mean, you just keep going to the track. And I like to think I'm a fairly personable person and I like to put myself into other people's.
You do talk to everybody. So yeah, you are very personable.
So I try to put myself out there so that way I could, get to meet more people and learn more things, because the more I know, the better I can be on and off the track. So that's the best thing that you can do is go to the track and just walk up to somebody that you see. It doesn't even matter if you like their car or not. Like if it looks like that they've been to the track more times than you, go talk to them. And just, ask them questions like, hey, what brake pads are you running? Or, what should I do here? I'm a little confused. Everybody at the racetrack is a family. And that's why I love going to the racetrack, because I can go there and I know that I'm going to have the best time of my life every time. It doesn't even matter if I bring my own car. There's been time like this year, I didn't take my car out at all. My car never drove this year.
The yellow Mini.
Right. It never drove, but I still have been at the track constantly and I've loved every minute of it. The people out there are amazing. They'll always help you. They never hesitate. If you got a problem, they'll make sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah. So that's a pro tip right there.
Yeah.
Ask people, talk to people, engage with people. If there's a session after a session, if there's like a classroom session, go in, learn, mingle, network. Great stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So, but going back to, pit race, that second time I boiled the brakes and I actually going into 17. I lost brake pedal going into 17.
Not a place you want to be with no brakes.
No. And I went into full panic mode. I really did. I mean, I'm on the comms. I'm telling the guy, we're wrecking the car. Like, this is done.
Brace for impact.
Yeah, basically. And he's super calm, collected, and telling me like every input that I need to do, which was fantastic because I did listen to him. He had gained my trust before, and I listened to him then. And thankfully, the car was saved and everything was okay. I was able to drive home because at the time I didn't have a trailer, so I drove to the track.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of about it. And then in 21, I did one time trial with SCCA.
Oh yeah.
I did NCM because my mom lives down there. So I was like, well, let me do this event. It looks really cool. And I can go see my mom. So I did that. And
still in that 2016 Mini?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was my first car, and I didn't get my second car until end of 22, and it didn't start campaigning until end of 23. So yeah, I still have that car.
Yeah.
I still have that car.
Did you like the time trial format?
At the time I did, yes.
Yeah.
And what I don't mean that in like a bad way. It's just, as I have grown, my journey, I guess you could say, like my motorsports journey, time trials is not like my favorite thing in the world anymore. I just love the people. And for that, like I'll keep going back, but I don't wake up in the morning and look forward to going to a time trial. John Hunter puts on an amazing event with the SCCA. So if you want to go check out a national time trial event, really go do so. But yeah, I just enjoy the endurance racing so much more now. I love it because it requires you to be perfect for a much longer period of time. And to me, that's a lot harder to do than to put down one fast lap.
Right.
That's my opinion, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but that's my preferences. So,
well, that's the beautiful thing about our sport is there's so many different things you can do. And I had a guest on, Surin Kadapali. He raced with us. He's been a guest here. He said, you got to find your joy in motorsports. And for some, that's time trial. For others, it's endurance racing. For others, it's sitting on the pit box and maybe taking, tire pressure. So whatever whatever brings you joy in motorsports is what you need to focus in on. For you, it's endurance racing.
Yeah, and that's 100% correct. I mean, we have a guy on our team, Jay. Jay does not get in the car. Jay just likes to help in the pit stops, and Jay is awesome. I usually ride with him. Hey, we're in the tow vehicle together, towing the race car, and then the other guys are towing the camper and everything. But Jay really enjoys being a pit guy, and which is amazing because you can't do it without all these different people. You need somebody who wants to do the pit stuff, and you need somebody who can drive the car fast, and you need somebody who can build the car and make sure that it's ready to go. And you need somebody to be able to analyze the data to know what changes to make. And you have to have that. If you don't have that, it makes it definitely a lot harder than it can be.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is a team sport.
Yes. And that's the other thing. I love the camaraderie with endurance racing. You don't get that kind of camaraderie anywhere else.
Right. So what is some early advice that you received that you still reflect back on today and use?
The number one thing, my dad told me this, and I tell this to all of my students, is that if you want to go to the racetrack and you have a car that you want to drive it to the racetrack and put it on the track. Do not go online and put a dozen different things in your cart and spend a weekend putting them on the car. Take your car in its stock form on its all-season tires to the racetrack and actually get to feel what's going on. The only thing is definitely change your fluid and your brake pads.
Yes.
But other than that, leave the car 100% bone stock. Because now you're going to go out there and you want that driver to car progression ratio. If your car progression is so much further ahead than your driver progression, you're going to stunt your growth. You're going to have a much harder time understanding what changes need to be made and how those changes are going to affect the car and you behind the wheel. So go out there, drive the car as it is, and then come back and say, hey, you know what? The car was super understeering. And you were able to recognize that. Okay, let me get a rear sway bar if it's a front wheel drive.
Sure.
And then the next time you go out, say, hey, it's doing this. Let me add some more camber because my tires are getting really worn. Or, make small steps because that will allow you to progress as a driver so much faster.
And the more you learn early on, the more you can adapt, the more you understand. And as you get faster and faster, you're probably going to repeat some of those things again.
Oh, 100%.
And having that experience will help you overcome those quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially too, if you do that slow progression, and if you're like me and you decide that you have to constantly build cars for no reason that don't run, like the one car I'm currently building right now, we're going, all the way out from first get-go. We're not even going to take it out for testing, but that's because we have a lot of experience already in understanding what a lot of different aspects to the car make. So if you build that knowledge base and you fine-tune that butt dyno, the first time you get in that car, you're going to be able to recognize a lot of the things that are going on, and you'll be able to build out cars a lot quicker further down the road.
Are you talking about a TSX?
Maybe.
Maybe.
There
was a nice quick one this past weekend. Talked to those guys a little bit. It was fun to see them on track.
Yeah, that's Charlie. Charlie's up, I want to say, out of the lower Wisconsin area. We've actually bought parts off of Charlie for our car.
Gotcha.
He does a lot of Honda valve cover powder coating. He also makes track car bars, impact bars. So
I did see those, and not only that, does the toe strap. I was really impressed by their design.
Yeah,
toe strap attaches to them, and they have a jack point, so you can jack the car up in the.
And he also welds bungs. So if you want to do a splitter in the front, so like the bars we ordered, they have a tow hook spot in the front, and then they have two threaded bungs for splitter rods. So and they use 1 3/4 DOM tubing, and I believe everything is TIG welded, if I recall correctly. And we lost, I think, 25 pounds by replacing the factory bars with his bars.
Oh, impressive.
And his bars go directly up against the bumper. So a lot of these people who will sell these track bars, you put them on the car and you have a 2 or 3 inch gap between the bumper and the impact bar. So the minute that you hit someone with that bumper, like the bumper's destroyed.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie does a lot of really good engineering and model scanning of making sure those fit perfectly. So, and that car's fast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That car's fast.
So you mentioned earlier you were a Boy Scout.
Yep.
And Boy Scout motto is be prepared.
Yep.
How has that helped you make sure that you're ready to go for a race weekend or an HPD event and not forget anything but a cool shirt? I prepare well in advance. So like if I know I'm going to the track, say, today's Wednesday, if I'm leaving for the track Friday after work, I'm already starting packing. Usually Wednesday, I'll start packing the trailer. I always have a list, and that list includes everything from tools to spare parts to extra toe straps, because you never know if one of them might break, or and I just go through and I cross off my list, and then usually Thursday night I'll make sure that my gear bag and my suitcase is all packed and ready to go, and we get out there. I am overly prepared sometimes, bringing 2, 3, 4, maybe even sometimes 5 of one thing that I maybe only needed 2 of, but I'd rather have it than not have it. Yeah.
Especially like it was possibly supposed to rain on Sunday. And guess what? I brought like 2, 3 extra pairs of socks, because you never know.
Right.
Thankfully, I didn't need them.
Exactly.
Thankfully, it didn't rain. Well, I was hoping it was raining.
You like driving in the rain?
I like driving in the rain. It's front wheel drive, independent suspension. The rain is to our advantage. Mm-hmm. A lot of my teammates would disagree. They kind of are like, Adrian, shut up, quit looking at the broadcast. We don't want to know about it. You're jinxing it. But I hope we race in the rain one day. We just haven't. It hasn't happened yet. Well, not for me. Not for me in the money shift car.
Yeah, I think the last rain race we did was Pitt 2 years ago, and that was when it was red flagged.
Yeah, like we didn't even have a chance to really race in the rain. Yeah. It was, I think it rained for 5 minutes, and then after it rained harder, and they red flagged it, and they called the race.
Right.
Same at, I was in the car at Watkins earlier this year, and it started raining. And I got maybe like 5 minutes. They took us down to Purple 35 and called the race an hour and a half early. Every time I'm like, man, I really hope it rains. So apparently I need to go down to Daytona, because it always rains at Daytona.
Yeah.
So that's on our list. We might go down there this year. We might go down there next year. We're not sure yet.
All right. We're thinking about it for 2025, so maybe we should coordinate on that.
Yeah. To us, it's going to depend on how the car is, because we boiled our brake fluid at Pitt for Saturday's race and Sunday's race.
Wow.
And we've changed master cylinders and bias valves, and we've done a lot of work on that brake system to try and get it more dialed in. And by the end of the race on Saturday and the race on Sunday, we had 800 psi to the front and 1100 psi to the rear. So we're not quite sure what's exactly going on and causing our, pressure to flip-flop, because obviously you're supposed to have higher pressure in the front.
Yeah.
So if we can get that dialed in, we might go to Daytona this coming year. If not, we'll probably go in 26.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about you and your business.
Mm-hmm.
So you are in a Mini Cooper business, flipping Mini Coopers, fixing Mini Coopers to a certain extent, parting out Mini Coopers.
Yep.
So did you get into this because your first track car was a Mini and you have an affinity for Minis? How'd this all come about?
So there's a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Dresser over in actually right here in Cuyahoga Falls. He runs a Mini Cooper shop, strictly service. And he had been servicing my car for me because I had two. So I bought my first one and then I bought my second one, and I was driving 3 hours a day for work. Like I just didn't have the time or the care. I had to have an oil change done every month. So to me, it was like, you know what, Saturday mornings, I'll stop, I'll have my oil change done. Him and I will go grab lunch, hang out, whatever. And after hanging out with him, I was like, man, I kind of want to start my own business. And I didn't know what it was going to be. I was just like, I want to do it. How am I going to do it? And I bought a house in Eastlake, which you're familiar with, Eastlake.
Yeah.
Okay. Right over there by the Walmart off of Vine Street. And I had a 6-car detached garage and a 1-car attached garage. And now I was only 5 minutes away from work. I was like, man, I need a project. So I went out and I bought a Mini Cooper Clubman that I was going to turn into furniture. I was going to make it. I was going to take the suicide door and the front door off, and I was going to make like a 4-person couch, and I was going to have the hood open and have the engine block be a grill. I mean, I had this whole thing planned out. I mean, I really did. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I have a mortgage now. Like I can't afford to just, fling money around at projects that really have no value to them aside for me. So I said, well, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. So my buddy Jonathan, he calls me, he says, hey, I got a guy here. He's got a Mini. He wants like $400 for it. I was like, okay. He's like, you want it? Like, oh, $400. Yeah. Okay, sure. I'll take it. So I got it. And then I started stripping it down, and selling the parts off of it. And then after I finished that one, I bought 2 more, and then it just went downhill. I had 10 cars in my driveway at one point, city knocking on my door saying, hey, you can't run a business out of your house.
Business, this is a fun hobby.
Right. And so that's kind of how like the business started. Like, it wasn't like I went out and I said, I'm going to sell used Mini Cooper. I just, one day it just kind of took off, and now there's a lot of people that they give me a call and they say, hey, I'm having a hard time with my Mini. I need help. And I say, I have the parts for you. And I'm thankful for them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really great people that I've met along the way doing that, all across the country. The Mini Cooper community, if you don't know, which I'm pretty sure you do since you've owned one.
Yeah.
The Mini Cooper community is actually probably one of the best community brands that there are. Jeep is really strong, but when it comes to the Mini Coopers, they're also pretty strong too.
Yeah.
Like Mini USA puts on massive events. Like they do Mini Takes the States every year, right? And 99% of the people that are doing that event that Mini USA is putting on are people that did not buy their Mini brand new, which means that they did not give Mini USA their money.
Right.
They gave somebody else their money, and Mini USA is still supporting them. Mini USA supports a lot of racers. If you have, kind of like Mazda contingency, and I think Nissan has a contingency as well. Mini USA has a contingency when it comes to, I think it's only SCCA racing. I know they don't do it for NASA, and I'm almost positive they don't do it for endurance racing with Champ Car either. But yeah, Mini is fantastic. So a lot of great people.
Yeah, for sure. So does the business help your racing? Does it give you the flexibility needed, the funding? How does the business fit into racing?
Yeah. I think a lot of people who are in racing would know that being a business owner is kind of the easiest step into racing because it is very time consuming. So I'm able to make my own schedule in that way. If I say, hey, like this past weekend, we left Friday morning. So I had to take Friday off, and I usually work Saturday mornings, and I took Saturday morning off. So I have that flexibility. Whereas I'm probably at the racetrack 15 weekends a year. And a lot of those include Thursdays and Fridays.
Right.
Most jobs you would not be able to get that kind of flexibility. So definitely being a business owner allows you to be able to do that. It does definitely help fund it. But regardless of whatever the job I had, we'd find a way to fund it.
That's right.
I mean,
Gotta scratch it.
Yeah, exactly. You got an itch, you'll find a way to scratch it for sure.
So while we're on the topic of minis, how did you get connected with Frank Schwarz to get that first wheel-to-wheel race?
Yeah, so Frank was a customer first. And that's actually how a lot of my connections, like the guy who taught me how to drive on the track, he was a customer, Evan Lewis, fantastic guy. I love Evan. He's one of my best friends now, actually. But so Frank, like I said, he was a customer. He came in and I'm trying to think what his first order was. I want to say his first order, he came down to the shop in Willoughby Hills, because that's where I was originally. I'm now in Sebring. He came to the shop in Willoughby Hills, and he bought a factory LSD transmission, I think.
Oh.
A 6-speed swap for a convertible project. This was back in spring of 21 or maybe end of 2020. Can't remember exactly. And he is just now starting that convertible project, actually, because he keeps himself pretty busy.
He is a busy guy.
Yeah, he's a very busy guy. So that's how I met Frank as a customer. And then so it actually would have been in 2020 sometime, because in 2021 was when I started going pretty heavy with my car to set it up for the time trials. And Frank was helping me out with some of that stuff, giving me pointers and stuff like that. So then Frank knew that I loved racing, and he called me. This probably would have been, I want to say it was February or March of 2022. He called me and he said, "Hey, I know you want to get out onto the track and do some wheel-to-wheel racing. And if anybody knows about wheel-to-wheel racing, it's very difficult to get into if it is not your own car, because the people need to trust you."
Right.
And so he called me and he says, "I have this car. It just got wrecked pretty bad at VIR. Somebody pit maneuvered it, and it got sent sideways into a guardrail, the Armco barrier." And he's like, "Do you want to repair this car?" And I was like, "Well, what's in it for me? Am I getting paid or,
right.
How are we going to do this?" And he says, "Well, there's SCCA Enduro, the inaugural one, the one that they held at Nelson Ledges. Actually, I think it was the only one that they've held. They might have held a second one at Nelson last year, right?"
So 2022 and 23 were races, but 24 got canceled.
Yeah. So the 2022 race, he said, "You fix this car. This will be the car that will race at Nelson for that race, and you will be one of the drivers." And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, here he comes. It's pouring down rain outside. It's like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And here he comes pulling in. The car wasn't even tracking straight. Like, I don't even remember how I got it in the shop, because I only have a single wide car garage door. I have a forklift, so I could have picked it up and put it in, but the garage door's not wide enough to get it in. So I don't remember what we did, but we got it in there. And as soon as Frank left, the first thing I did is I called my dad. I said, "Dad, we're going racing." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I have a project." And he's like, "What do you mean us?" But my dad's a frame technician.
All right.
So, and he's been doing bodywork all of his life. So I've done some of it, but not a lot. And I was like, "Dad, I need your help. We got to do this." And so we put a quarter panel on the car. New rear subframe, new rear lower control arms. I think we put a new front subframe. Either that or we just changed. No, we put a whole new front subframe in it. New fender, new hood, repaired the radiator support, new bumper, new wheel bearing, new strut, fresh set of brakes. And then I had to do rear brake lines, because when the rear brake lines, they attach to the rear subframe, that's where the hard line and the soft line connect. When I went to go disconnect them to drop the rear subframe, the fitting was almost froze to the line, as in repair business. And so it just twisted the line.
Oh.
So I had to put a new rear brake lines on. Well, I couldn't get them bled to save my life.
Huh.
I probably bled those rear brakes. I probably went through 4 or 5 bottles of RBF.
Huh.
It was a nightmare. And what actually ended up working was vacuum bleeding them.
Oh yeah.
Because I was trying to pressure bleed them. I was trying to do the, pump the pedal, somebody else crack it method.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it was just building up too much pressure and wasn't able to get all the air out. So yeah, and that was how I got on track. And actually, that car got blown up on the test day. Got a hole through the block.
Oh, that's right. Because didn't someone go back up to Michigan and pick up?
Yeah. So this again goes back to Frank and his determination to his customers and his clients and his friends. Frank does not like to let people down. And that's an amazing trait that he has. And so that car blew up. I think they had a track night in America is what the test was.
Yeah.
And it blew up there, put a hole in the block. He loaded the car on the trailer and drove 3 hours back to Detroit, dropped that car off, picked up another car, brought it back down so that way we could race Saturday and Sunday.
That's awesome. I think I do remember because we were at that was our first endurance race with the Neon. And I remember him rolling in really early in the morning.
Yeah.
And was like, all right, these guys are racing.
Yeah. I think he probably left sometime around like 9, 10 o'clock, I want to say, maybe a little bit earlier, but it's a 6-hour round trip drive, and then it's just him, he had nobody else helping him at the time. So, he's got to push the car off the trailer. He's got to get the new car on the trailer. So yeah, I don't think he got back till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. But he made sure we were ready to go. And he made sure we had a car that made it to the end both days.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
that was awesome.
Right. So and you getting in the car wasn't just a putzing around the track. You were laying down some pretty fast laps in your first wheel-to-wheel race, weren't you?
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of traffic at that race though, so that
That's right.
that
I think
definitely
they
helped.
had 8 entries.
Yeah, something like that. Or I think there might have been 11, but a handful of people broke. Like there was that factory Toyota Corolla, if you remember that.
I do.
They blew up on the practice day too. And then I think Tim Lally had a car that ended up in the wall, the Corvette.
Yeah.
Right?
And they came back the next day with the BMW, I believe.
BMW or GTO?
Maybe it was the white GTO.
Maybe
right?
one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that definitely helped get up to speed, because there's a lot going on out there on the racetrack, and so that helped for sure. And yeah, I was going out there. I set FTD for the team in my first race. Everybody else had raced before, and that was my first race. And I did not beat Frank though, but
can't let the car owner be slower than you, right?
Yeah. Car owner can never be slower. But you'll have to ask Kevin about that.
Yeah. You're faster than Kevin.
Yeah. So to kind of like lean into the next race I did, the next opportunity I had after that was the Nelson Ledges 24 in 2022 with Champ Car.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'd known Kevin, a little while before then, and I had already told him that I was going to crew for him. I'll help you out. I want to be involved. Well, I just got done doing that race with Frank, and I'm like, man, I need to drive again. Like, I can't just crew.
You're still on the high.
Yeah, exactly. So I called Kevin up. I'm like, Kevin, like, do you have a seat that I can pay you for to drive at the 24? He's like, I can give you one stint, $700, one stint. I said, I'll take it.
Yes.
I don't care. Something is better than nothing. And so I'd never driven their car. I'd never even seen their car before. And I show up, and Kevin gives me the walk around. I meet everybody else, Chris and Tony, Jay, everybody that was there. And, my family now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And Kevin gets me into the car. We get strapped up to go out, for me to run some practice laps. And first thing he says to me is, he's like, listen, just go out there, turn some laps. If you're fast, you're fast. If you're slow, you're slow. He's like, if you go out and you run 23s and 24s at Nelson, I don't care. He said, if you want some coaching when you come back in, I'd be happy to give it to you. He's like, we got Adam Roberts out here. He'll be running 16s, and I'll be running 17s and 18s, and Tony, JP, and I'm trying to think who the other driver was. I think it was just the 5 of us. Well, Keith got in. Keith Stepnock, he got in for a stint accidentally, but he's like, yeah, they'll be running 20s.
Accidentally.
Yeah. We'll get to that next.
Okay. All
right. So I go out and I start running my laps and getting used to the car and everything like that. And at that point, Nelson, I had the most track time too. And at that point, I had only had 12 track hours. I mean, between the race that I did at Nelson with Frank, the track days, the time trials, I had 12 hours.
Yeah, not very much.
No.
Still new.
No. And so I go out and I start clicking off 16.9. 16.7, 16.4, 16.4, 17.1, you know, and so like I was like, man, I want to keep driving. Like, this is fun. Like, I really like their car is just so fun to drive. You know, Chris and Kevin have done a fantastic job at prepping that car, and I just love driving it so much that I wanted to keep driving. But I'm like, no, like I'm putting off good enough lap time. Like, we are comfortable. There's no reason to keep doing more laps for no reason. So I pull in and park the car, and I'm unstrapping and everything, and Kevin comes up and he's like, wow, how'd the car feel? I was like, man, the car felt amazing. I love the car. It's great. Oh, what kind of lap times did you do? And I was like, oh, you know, I did a 16.4. He's like, you did a what? And he reaches over, he flips the kill switch, so that way the dash will turn on, so that way you can see the number. And he turns and he yells at Tony. He's like, Tony, get over here and pull the data out of this dash. I want to see what he was doing. You know, and that was fantastic.
That's awesome.
You know, so I'm very proud of that moment. I'm very thankful for that moment because Kevin didn't have to put me in that car. Yeah. You know, he had no reason to put me in that car, and he did. And so, you know, I tell Kevin and the guys this after every race that, you know, I thank them for the weekend and you know, I thank them for their presence and how amazing they are and everything like that. And, you know, I do it because of, like, I really am grateful. You know, I don't have to be there. They could invite somebody else there. Right. Because I am a team member, but I'm not invested into that car. And they keep calling me and asking me, which is awesome.
Well, with lap times like that, you're always going to be invited back.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And I tried to set FTD for the race, but Adam Roberts went out at like 3 o'clock in the morning and did a 15.9 at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
It's
probably fog.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, Nelson Ledges and fog. Yeah. I mean, that's like 2 peas in a pod. But yeah, so the Keith, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but Keith was like our reserve driver, I think. Or he was there, he wasn't planning to drive, but you know, you don't show up to the racetrack without your gear.
That's right. Rule number 2, right? Yeah. First is have fun. Number 2 is always bring your gear.
Yeah, you always bring your gear. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're getting in the car or not. You bring your gear because you never know who might ask you. And he had his gear with him, and hell, he might even been helping us with pit stops or something. But Tony went out, and his Hans thing on his helmet had fell off. What screws into the helmet, it fell off, and we caught it on our live stream camera. So we called him in because, like, we're not letting somebody out there with a defective Hans. I mean, I would never go out without a Hans. Right. And, you know, I try to encourage all my students whenever I hop in the car with them and they don't have a Hans and they have, you know, safety belts, like, you need to go buy one. So we called him in, and Keith was dressed and ready to go. So we sent Keith out in the car, and he went out and he did like an 1.5-hour stint and 2-hour stint, something like that, and came back. And felt bad for Tony. He lost some seat time, but
well, safety first, right?
Yeah. And so when I got out of this stint, I did stint number 2 that race. I got out of the car, and like I said, I only paid for 1 stint. And Kevin, he's like, "You're going back in again." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, awesome, thanks." And he put me in at night. So not only was it like, you know, my first, you know, big race, I guess you could say, you know, a 24-hour, he said, "Hey, you're hopping in the car at 4:30 in the morning with Nelson fog." Wow. You know, that was awesome. That was fun. And somebody had clipped a groundhog sometime throughout the night. So the kink going down the back straight, that groundhog was like sitting on the outside of the back straight, and it was the perfect turn-in marker. Really? For the kink, yeah. Like, I can't remember if it was like you saw it and you immediately turned, if you saw it and you went 1 Mississippi and then turned, but yeah, you saw that groundhog and it was like, okay, cool, the kink's right here. Yeah, it was awesome. Great.
Do you enjoy driving at night?
I do.
Yeah.
I love driving at night. So when we did the VIR 24 last year, which I loved. The team does not. No, I am the only one that likes the 24s, unfortunately. But I did 2 stints at night at VIR. The one stint was at the dead of night. I want to say like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I think it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, because then I got in the car at, I want to say like 4:35. I did 2 stints. I know that, and I drove into the sunrise.
Ooh.
I like driving into the sunrise, and I know like Kevin and Chris, they have a hard time driving into the sunrise or the sunset, just because like the way the sky. I mean, a lot of people do.
Yeah,
it's not just them. I mean, a
you
lot
get
of
that low sun, it could bother you.
Yeah, and just like the transition from super vibrant to super dark, it actually happens a lot quicker than you think.
Yeah.
And so I like driving into the sunset or into the sunrise. It's beautiful. And I love getting up early and watching the sunset getting up early and watching the sunrise and staying up late and watching the sunset.
Oh, for sure.
Those are my favorite things.
Yeah,
things in life.
No matter what, they are magical. No doubt about it.
Yes.
So what's the big goal with all this? Where do you hope to end up with the racing?
I don't know yet.
No, still figuring it out?
I have aspirations. I don't think that they are achievable, but I will continue to work towards them. So like my highest goal is to race at the Rolex.
All right.
That is my dream. It is going to be a lot of money, and I understand that. And
just sell more old Mini parts.
There you go, right?
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, just sell some Mini Cooper parts and it'll be okay. That is my goal, is to go race at the Rolex one day. That's probably at the top of the list.
Well, now that you've publicly stated that, every listener is going to hold you accountable for that.
Well, so actually, it is in my best interest to put it off a little bit longer, because if you are under 27 years old, you are considered a silver level driver.
Regardless of anything.
Right. So you are not able to go run the GTD Pro Am, I think it's GTD is the Pro Am, and then GTD Pro is all the pros. But so right now I would have to run in GTD Pro, and it'd be much harder for me to get a seat in that. But if, I'm 28, 29, and I'm now considered a bronze level driver, it'd be much easier to get a GTD seat. I mean, not that much easier.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's on my bucket list, and I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I'm trying like hell, man. I'm trying to go to the racetrack every chance I can, and we're trying to build a race, a little bit bigger of a race program at Money Shift, and we're hoping that that's going to work out well for us and work out well for our customers too, that we plan to bring in with that, and maybe that will help with that. I don't know. But
it can't hurt. I'll tell you that.
No, it can't hurt. So that's kind of also one of the things that I'm trying to do in my racing journey is, kind of in a way, be like Frank. Frank leads by example. He is one of those people that, like, if you look at Frank, you say, I want to be like Frank. I want my kids to be like Frank. I want my kids' kids to be like Frank. Nobody's perfect, but Frank does his best to be as perfect as he can. And that says a lot. And so if I can give back, if I can provide opportunities to people that have never been in a car before and they want to get that availability, I want to do that. That's why I instruct now. I started that this year. And it is scary. Let me tell you that.
Sitting in the right seat?
Yes,
I bet it is.
Sitting in the right seat, especially with somebody who has never driven a car or driven at that track. Like my one student this year, he's like, I've never been here before, but I've done it on the sim. And I'm like, oh, great. I bet you have.
And he lights up the tires and here we go.
Yeah. And like turn 10, that downhill left-hander after the S's, like he was not turning. I'm like, dude, the track goes left. Like, turn the wheel left, please, 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 please. But then I got to experience, and this was my first student ever. And this guy had never been to the track before, and he hops in the car, and we go out for the day. And he wanted to make a vlog for the day. So, I mean, he interviewed me, and we did all these different things, and he had all sorts of cameras and stuff like that, whatever. And so
it was more about the video than it was driving?
No.
Right.
I mean, he definitely wanted to get it all on video.
Yeah.
But he definitely really enjoyed the driving.
Okay.
Like, we got out of the car for the last session, and he said, "Can I ride in your car?" And like I said, I wasn't driving my car this year. So, no, actually I was. I drove my white car that weekend. So he hopped in the passenger seat of my white car. We went and did some laps, and we get out, and he says, "This is the best weekend of my life."
No way.
He got out of the car, and that's what he said. And, you know, it sent chills down my spine, because, like, I remember when I was there, and that was me. And to be able to provide that to somebody else was amazing. And then he quickly followed it up with, "Please don't tell my wife that I said that." So maybe my wedding was the best day, and this is my second best day.
That's a real pinch me moment for you.
Yes.
I mean, the thing about you had a part of that.
Yes.
And that's something that student will remember forever.
Exactly. And so, you know, that's where, like, I want to try and be able to give back to those people that want to be in this community any way that I can, whether that's instructing them, whether that's helping them with car setup, or giving them, you know, ideas about how to drive a track or learn how to drive a track, because every track is different, you know. You have to be able to show up to a new track, you know, especially if you're driving like Champ Car or something. You have to be able to show up, put in a 20, 30-minute practice session, and know that track. You know, at least be able to know it at 90%.
Yeah.
And so if I can teach people those things, or, you know, get somebody into a wheel-to-wheel situation, I would love to do it. That's what I want to do, giving back and teaching. It's the best thing that we can do as a society. Right? Is to give back to the younger people and help them do things that they want to do that we have done.
Yep.
You know,
that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So I have a few more questions here before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
So somebody comes to you that's never been on track before, wants to take that next step. What advice do you give them on how to get started? You did share, don't modify the car, just get out there. But what else would you share with them?
So the first thing that I would tell them is, I'd say, hey, go check out Auto Interests. That's who I instruct with. They're a great organization. I like working with them. I like driving with them. And so I would tell them, hey, go check out Auto Interests, look at their schedule, and sign up for a day. Don't hesitate, you know, just go sign up. That's the first thing that I'll tell somebody.
So real quickly, what do you like about Auto Interests above other days you've done?
I like their instruction.
Because you're an instructor.
No, so I actually joined Auto Interest not as an instructor. You know, I've been driving with Auto Interest for, I think this is my third season now. And they have a large base of knowledge between their instructors. You know, one of the instructors there is an ex-tire engineer. I can't remember what the company was that he worked for, but he was a tire engineer for 30 years, right? So guess what? If my student gets out of the car and he's got questions about tires, you know, I know some stuff about tires, but guess what? That guy knows a lot more stuff about tires. So I'm going to say, hey, go talk to this guy. Or, you know, and we have a lot of instructors that have different strengths. You know, so like we have instructors that are really good with people that are first time in the car, and we have instructors that are really good with people that, you know, they've been in the car a few times, but they're just trying to make that next extra step. I like their format, the way that they have it set it up, the way they have it organized. They also provide insurance for you. You know, because that's a lot of things that most organizations or series don't do. Like Champ Car, we get into an accident in Champ Car, like we're SOL.
Yeah.
You know, you get into an accident with Auto Interests. Auto Interests, I believe the flyer they just sent out says they cover up to $10,000. SCCA is also one of those organizations as well, that if you get into an accident, they will take care of your hospital bills due to the accident, which thank God for some of those people out at Road America this past weekend.
No kidding.
So those are all really, really good things that Auto Interest does.
All right. Advice tip number 2.
Advice tip number 2 is safety. I try to tell people that safety is the most important thing. I have had conversations with people that when I hop into a race car myself, the first thing that goes through my mind is, how can I make sure that I make it home this weekend? How can I make sure that my family is able to continue saying hello to me the days after, right? And I said that to a guy that on a forum, we were talking about safety equipment. And he says, well, I don't know about you, but the first thing that I think of when I hop in a race car is getting first place. And I'm like, all of us do, man. All of us think about winning. That's why we race. Like, nobody goes to a racetrack and says, man, I can't wait to finish last. Woohoo. Like, no. Like, we're show up, we want to win, right? That's why we do this.
Yeah.
Part of it, right? But safety should be the number one thing on somebody's mind because, like Evan, when I first met Evan, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm going to the racetrack. I'm going to go racing. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure you are. And I was like, no, seriously, I'm going racing. He's like, well, make sure you buy safety equipment. I was like, oh, I will. And he's like, it's expensive. I said, I know, but I'm going to buy it. I went out and saw our friends over at Track First, Tim and Sally, fantastic people, by the way. If you need any type of safety gear to get on track, those are the people. But I went over there and I bought a Hans. I bought, what else did I buy? I bought belts. I bought seats. I had a roll bar installed in my car. And because to me, I spent what? I think it was like $4 or $5 grand on all that safety equipment. And I mean, that's a lot of money, right? When you kind of think about it, $5 grand, $4 grand, it's a lot of money for safety equipment. But what is your life worth?
Right.
What is waking up tomorrow worth to you? And to me, it's worth a hell of a lot more than $4,000. And so I was going to spend that money. And I encourage everybody to spend that money. Like I said earlier, I have a lot of students, I get in their car and they don't have a Hans. I'm like, you're out here, going Mach G,
Yeah.
I mean, not literally, but, you're going really fast out here. You have an incident, you could be in that wall, so like this year was my first year instructing. So what I did is I went out and I bought the Simpson Hybrid S, right? The one that straps around your chest.
So you don't need harness.
Yeah. So that way, when I hop into a student's car that has a 3-point harness, I know that I can be protected with my Hans. That is so important. I know a lot of people right now, NHRA just changed some of their rules, and the Hans device was required this year for certain classes that haven't been traditionally. And everybody's all in an uproar about it. Oh, I've been racing all this long without a Hans. I'm like, yeah, guess what? Dale Earnhardt said the same thing 25 years ago. And unfortunately, look at where he's at.
Right.
Like, don't be dumb. So,
any other bits of advice?
Those are probably the 2 most important ones.
Yeah.
Is go talk with an organization, get on track that they want first timers and beginners out there, and invest in your safety equipment. Those are the 2 most important things. Everything else can wait.
Got it. Now, when you need to learn more about improving your driving, making your car faster, learning more about the sport, where do you go? What resources do you use?
I watch a lot of video. Like this past weekend, I've already rewatched the 5 hours from Saturday.
No kidding.
I've already rewatched the 2 hours from Sunday. I've already rewatched the live show that Champ Car put on.
Did you fall asleep on the part I was on?
Of course not, Bill.
5 minutes.
Of course not. I do. I watch a lot, and I'll probably watch that again next week.
Huh.
And it's just like football players or basketball players, right? You study film because that film can teach you so much, So like I had 2 incidents this weekend. One incident was not my fault. One incident was 100% my fault. And I can look at those incidents and I can see what I could have done better, right, in those incidents. But then the other thing that I can look at too is when I watch my video, I can, I know the track line, so I don't need to worry about the track line. What I need to worry about is racecraft, is should I have taken this pass? What could I have done better to set myself up better for that pass? Or was there a better time that I should have taken that pass than when I did take it? So I do a lot of that. And then also watching other people's race footage, like watching the Champ Car live broadcast. What that allows me to do is to see what other people are doing, because I know what I do and what I like to do and what's comfortable for me. But just because it's comfortable for me doesn't mean it's comfortable for others. And what is comfortable for others may be faster than what's comfortable for me.
Right.
So, so I'll spend time watching them. And I don't do sim, believe it or not. I've never done the sim.
No.
I take that back. I actually did sim Thursday night. Tony, one of our drivers, he loves the sim. When we went to Road Atlanta, he told me, he said he put about 500 laps at Road Atlanta on the sim before we went to Road Atlanta. And it showed, because I did the sim at Road Atlanta and I couldn't turn a clean left to save my life.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could not keep it on track. He went out there and he putzed around and he was running 40 flat, but I don't typically do the sim. I don't like the dynamics of it. I have a very hard time. Like
not everybody can do it.
Yeah. And I drive based on the feel of the car.
Yeah.
I feel what's going on in my butt. I feel what's going on in the steering wheel. You can't do that on a sim. And the sim will try to do a lot of that for you and recreate it, but it doesn't do the best job. No. Even like Tim, they have a sim place in the same building as
Sim Experience.
Yeah. 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 And before I went to Watkins, the owner of the team that I drove with at Watkins was a Mini Cooper team, and he says, I would really prefer that you can get on the sim. And I was like, oh, I got NASCAR heat back at home. He did not.
You drive the Snickers car around Talladega.
So I went out over to Track First, and I put some laps in on that sim. And that's like a $30,000, $40,000 sim.
Yes.
That was a nice sim. But even then, like, it was still very difficult to understand like what the car was actually doing in the sim. So, to me, it's a great benefit to learn a track. I don't think it's a great benefit to hone in your craft, in my opinion.
All right.
That's just my opinion.
All right. 2 more questions. We're going to put links to what we're about to talk about. But what's the best way for folks to follow you and connect with you?
So I am very heavily involved on Facebook, believe it or not. I have a lot of people laugh at me about that because apparently Facebook is for us old people now. So you can find me on Facebook, Adrian Willoughby. You can also find my business page on there, Wilmec Mini Cooper Parts. You can also find me on Instagram at Yo Adrian. That's 4 O's, _ Adrian.
I love it.
And then my YouTube, I don't know the exact handle to my YouTube. I know I'm on YouTube, and I try to post a lot of my personal videos from my cars on YouTube.
I have a link to it. We'll put it
you have a link.
We'll share it.
Yeah, but I'm pretty active on social media. I try to be. I try to make a lot of posts, and I always do race recaps. That's kind of like my thing when we get back from a weekend is I go on and I put in like a 5-6 paragraph race recap for the team. So
nice. All right. Time for the last question. Have you ever been late to grid?
I thought about this on the way here because I've watched a lot of your podcasts, and I know you always ask that question. And I was like, have I ever been late? And I sit back and I think about it, and I do not think that I have.
Comes back to being prepared.
The only time that I was ever late was because of a mechanical. So I don't know if you can count that, but my
hey, as the grid marshal would say, late is late.
There you go. So in 2021, I did my first time trial with SCCA in my white Mini. And I had never towed before. I had never driven a big truck before.
All right.
I had never strapped a car down before. And I said, hey, let's go drive 8 hours to National Corvette Museum, towing a trailer with a car on it. And actually, a lot of bad things happened that weekend. Like my truck that I had bought, the engine had gone bad in it. It had rod knock. So then I had to rent a U-Haul.
Oh my goodness.
And then I couldn't rent a 2,500 U-Haul. So I didn't take my trailer because I had a 24-foot enclosed, and I could have towed it with a 1,500, but I want to be, way above what is capable, or way below what's actually capable. And so I towed my buddy Brandon Anderson. He's a great guy too. He actually helped get a lot of things happen. And so I put my car in the trailer and I strapped it down. And on the minis, on the third gen minis, the F chassis cars, there's not really anything to like wrap a strap around or anything like that except for the wheels. So I wrapped through the wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the brake caliper has a brake line that goes on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And during transit, the wheel shifted with the strap and it caught that brake line and bent that brake line like 90 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
So, but I still had brake pressure. It wasn't leaking or anything because I pulled the car off the trailer. I went through tech, like everything was fine. And my mom lived 15, 20 minutes away from the track. So as soon as we got done, it was, hey, like, let's head home. I made a real nice homemade meal and I'm like, mom's cooking, let's go.
Yeah.
And I started driving out the exit of NCM down that long road. And I started hearing like this, shh, 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 shh. And I'm like, what is that noise? So I get out and that's when I see the bent brake line. So
hitting the wheel or the rotor?
The wheel.
Yeah.
Because it bent in front of the caliper.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so we stayed up till 11 o'clock and that night and we went out, we bought a brake line. Nobody had a brake line tool.
Sure.
So we had to rent, that crappy one from AutoZone or whatever, and took like 2 or 3 tries to, get some good flares. Those are a little difficult. We made that happen. And then we went to go ahead and start bleeding it. And the bleeder broke. So this is Wednesday night. Practice is on Thursday. Competition starts on Friday. And
where do you find a Mini Cooper caliper, right? Or at least try to easy out the bleeder.
That's what I did. So I got up at 6:30 in the morning. AutoZone opened at 7. So I drove straight to AutoZone and I picked up a easy out kit and SPS, I believe it is. They were on site with doing tires and selling gear and stuff like that. And they had a bleeder. So I bought a bleeder. And then the bleeder broke. The easy out broke inside the bleeder. So then I'm like, well, now I'm screwed. I got nothing. And at the time, I did not have one of these calipers on the shelf at my shop. So I made some calls to some other people in the business. Nobody else had some used calipers on the shelf. So then I called Mini of Nashville, which was only like an hour south.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, yeah, there's not even a single caliper in the country.
Lucky Adrian.
Yeah, lucky me, right? They're 5 weeks out from Germany. So then there was a guy, oh God, and I feel bad because I can't remember his name now, but Brandon Anderson hooked me up with him. And he fixed all the go-karts for NCM. And so he ran that shop there. So we took the caliper off the car, went over there, and we tried to weld 10 different nuts to this bleeder. The welds would not hold. I'd like to think this guy knew what he was doing. I mean, if the track trusted him to take care of their go-karts, and we could not get the nut to hold. And so then we tried to Dremel it out, and we're like, wait a minute. This caliper is still technically sealed.
Yeah, you haven't let anything out of it.
Yeah. So we're like, why don't we bleed it through the cross pipe on the bottom of the caliper? And so then that's what we did.
All right.
Is because we tried to Dremel it for like an hour. I still have the caliper on the shelf. It's one of my trophies now.
Memento, yeah.
Yep. And so we got it back on the car, and we put the brake pads in the caliper, and we stuck a 27 millimeter socket in between the brake pads. And we tipped the caliper up at an angle, and we bled the caliper the best we could through the fitting for the crossover line on the brake caliper. And I was able to run the weekend, and I was the final session on the practice day. I was able to make it to. I was 10 minutes late. They had already gotten 10 minutes on track, but I was able to get out there and actually drive.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you're able to get it all figured and sorted and run some laps.
Yep.
Well, Adrian, thanks so much for being on the podcast and sharing your motorsports journey. I can't wait to see where it leads.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Bill. It was exciting.